Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's Cameron with Modern Retro Renaissance. As you've probably seen going around Facebook, a lot of people have been doing the $100 video game challenge. This challenge is taking usually a system such as the Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, seeing what you can purchase with $100, most of the time using pricecharting.com as the reference. My friend Joel from the Poor Man's Retro Game Room recently did his using the Sega Genesis. No surprise there, he is a huge fan of the Genesis. Well, as you know, my channel is a little different than most retro channels. Mine is Modern Retro. So I thought, how can I put the Modern Retro spin on this? So my mind went straight to my Modern Retro gaming platform of choice, the Switch. The Switch benefits from something very unique. There are a series of games that you can digitally download called the Sega Ages Collection. This is various games, not necessarily all of them for the Sega Genesis, but just iconic games from Sega's library. So my challenge, and some people will probably say this is cheating because I'm talking about digitally downloading instead of having purchased a physical copy of a game, but you know, I'm doing Modern Retro and I can cheat if I want to, I guess. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the games from the Sega Ages Collection that I would include on my list. All of these games retail for $8 on the Switch eShop. My guess is, if I did research, the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox, probably the same price. I can't imagine them being any different in price. So I'm going to go through my list of games. My last game I've got on the list is definitely a cheat. I'll discuss it as I go. Without further ado, let's go with the first game. Virtua Racing. Virtua Racing was definitely an arcade experience. The Genesis version of Virtua Racing was really pushing the system. But the Sega Ages version that you can download on the Switch is actually the ultimate version of Virtua Racing. It's never looked better, it's never ran better than on the Genesis. It's a no-brainer. You need to play this game on the Switch. Next is Lightning Force, or Thunder Force 4. Love the spelling of lightning. The strange Japanese translations back in the day always bring a smile to your face, give you a chuckle. Not only is the spelling very unusual, but in my opinion, this is probably the best horizontal shooter for the Genesis. Once again, just another one of those iconic games that you need to play. Do I need to say a whole lot about this game? If you're listening to this video and you don't understand why Sonic 2 would be on a list of best Genesis games, I don't know what to tell you. Just like the next game, Outrun. Everybody played this at an arcade at some point if you were old enough to have been in an arcade. I remember the rumble on that steering wheel would shake your teeth in a good way. Another one of those iconic games. And speaking of iconic, the next game on the list is the original Shinobi, the arcade version. I remember playing this at a grocery store in my little hometown. It was in the back in the deli area where you could get box lunches and the like. I remember pumping so many quarters into this game. Another iconic game, Space Harrier. Never was very good at Space Harrier, but it definitely did not slow me down from playing it so much. There was a old lumber place in my hometown that got turned into an arcade for just a couple of years, and they had a stand-up machine of it. I remember it was just so much fun using the yoke type controls to move the character around. Another iconic game, like I said. The next one is Herzogs Wife. This game is one of the earliest real-time shooters that came out on the platforms, on the systems. It definitely paved the way for games like Warcraft, Starcraft, and the like. Another game that just you need to play if you have access to the Switch and can download the game, or if you have the Genesis and can find a copy for cheap. The last game is Glock Air Battle. It's actually the spin-off of the Afterburner games. What I remember about this game, I did not get to play it a lot because it was really found in your bigger arcades. My little hometown where I was from never really had that type of arcade. It was more going to the mall, which when I was younger was about 2 hours away. I remember the just crazy cabinet. It was like being in a flight simulator. How that thing would turn you left and right and almost make you do flips. Just another one of those iconic shooter games that you need to play at least once in your life. Now we get into where, like I said, I'm kind of cheating, because there is a game, you can buy it physical or you can download it for all the modern platforms. It's the Sega Genesis Collection. It has over 50 games on it. Some of the games that I've already mentioned are duplicates that would be on this also. I'm not going to talk about all 50 games. We'd be here all night. But I am going to talk about a handful that really are important to me, games that are must-plays in my opinion. Really, the games that I'm going to talk about are broken up into two developers. You've got Sega itself, and you've got Treasure. Just look at the list of games that I've put here. Alien Soldier and Gunstar Heroes. Two of Treasure's finest 16-bit outings. Alien Soldier is a game that not many people played because it came out so late in the life cycle of the Genesis. Gunstar Heroes is just one of the best run-and-gun games that I've ever played. It is so innovative. It's so much fun. Just beat it again in the last 2 months. Then you've got Beyond Oasis, which is the Genesis answer to Nintendo's Legend of Zelda. You've got Dynamite Headdy. You've got eSWAT, which was an amazing arcade game that changed a little bit when it came to consoles and still is an amazing game. Ristar, which is not your jumping platformer like your Sonic and Mario's. It more deals with the character's stretchy arms and using that dynamic to platform. You've got Streets of Rage 1, 2, and 3. Streets of Rage is the beat 'em up to beat, and it is very hard to have ever beat Streets of Rage 2 in particular. Everyone knows that Streets of Rage 2 is kind of seen as the high watermark of the series. You've got the other 3 Shinobi games that were released on the Genesis. Shadow Dancer, Shinobi 3, Revenge of Shinobi. All 3 just iconic side-scrolling ninja games. Again, just a beautiful list of games. Well worth, I'd say over $200 any day. But you can buy this physical or download for only $30. Now to kind of delve into the pricing, which is maybe what you came for. My amount came with the 8 Sega Ages games and the Sega Genesis Classics game at $94. So well under the $100 budget. I could easily have found another game to throw in there and add to the list. What gets really interesting, though, is when you start to talk about being selective of when you download these games. Buying these games at their lowest price when they're on sale, which is very often, to be honest, with the eShop. if you are selective when you purchase, you can buy all of these games for $35.70. That is when it really starts to become a value, something that is worth every penny, period. Now, this is the price on price charting if you tried to buy these games as loose cartridges. $639.77. And that actually does not include a couple of the games, Outrun and Shinobi, the original Shinobi, that is. They weren't really ever released on the Genesis that I know of. So you can see the difference between $94, $35 and change, and almost $640. And that brings us to my question. Is the cost savings worth sacrificing physical? Based off the information that I've presented, I believe so. I know that there's an argument raging that, well, you don't really ever own the physical copy, what happens? One thing can be said about Nintendo systems. They're tough, they last forever, especially cartridge-based systems. I mean, Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, those things are reliable. You can hardly break one, to be honest. The GameCube, except for the laser going bad, you can pretty much throw one of those against a wall. My point being, the Switch, I can only imagine, will be kind of like all other Nintendo systems. I can see it lasting for 50 years, easily. And with that being said, once you download these games, as long as you have a SD card that you trust, these games can last for 30, 40, 50 years, perhaps. Who knows? I don't know how long an SD card will last. But for $35 to $94, it's a risk that I'm willing to take. Would I love to have all of these games in a cartridge format? Well, of course I would. But modern retro gaming does not really allow for that. And it's not cost effective to try to pick up these games out in the wild. I hope this has been interesting to you that are watching this. I really enjoy these $100 challenges. I wanted to put a modern retro spin on it. Hope it's maybe giving you something to think about. I know there's got to be other people out there that got rid of their collections, no longer have these games, that have a nostalgia for them. Maybe you've never played a lot of these games and have seen a lot of these Sega Ages games. When they go on sale for $2.79. I mean, it's a no-brainer. I mean, it's less than the cost of a Big Mac these days. Nothing that would ever hurt going out on a limb and trying. Hopefully, like I said, this has inspired you to maybe give something a thought that you never thought about before, about going a different avenue, about playing these amazing Genesis games, and definitely being able to drop $100 for close to 60 games. Guys, if you like my content, give me a thumbs up, give me a like, leave me a comment. I love comments. I'll respond to every comment that I get. My channel's small enough that I can give each comment that personal touch. Until next time, guys, just enjoy gaming. Be modern, be retro, be modern retro.